Hello, welcome to another remote Kinstretch class. I'm Will, this is Hannah.
Hello.
We're going to be working on some great hip stretching and mobility options from a back-lying position. Can be just a little bit different from 90-90 and works really well for some folks. So I'm going to actually have you start out laying on your back. We will be spending a lot of time on the floor, so if you have a mat, that probably will do well for you, or at least a towel or a pillow on hand to support any hot spots that you find. So just starting out on your back, we're going to feel the capacity or the mobility of each hip in just rotation. So take a moment, flatten out your spine as best you can onto the mat. Think nice heavy rib cage and feel your abdominal area, your abdominal wall turn on to try to make that rib cage heavy. And then reach your right leg straight up to the ceiling. Pull the kneecap up tight so that the leg is as straight as you can make it. And then keeping that angle of your thigh, just start rotating your thigh, shin, and ankle outward and inward, back and forth. So you're just starting to introduce some rotational movement to the hip joint, but you're not letting the knee bend, you're not letting the leg wave away from you, and you're keeping your abdominal brace as a nice supportive base position for the movement of your thigh. Good. Just work on this another 15 seconds and start to really find a complete stop at your end range at each position. So really cinch it in like you're wringing out a washcloth and you can't wring out any more water. Good. And let's set that leg down. Take a breath. Reset your flat spine, trying to make your whole spinal column connected to the floor. And then left leg up to the ceiling. Pull the kneecap up tight and start your rotation here. Now Hannah has some pretty good hamstring mobility, so she's able to get that heel right over the hip. That's what we'd like to see. But if the hamstrings are tight, you might find that you need to do these rotations from here, making it just a little bit tougher on your abs. That's not a bad thing. Keep working, pulling that kneecap up. And find that end range stop feeling. Really pulling yourself into as much rotation as you can in each side. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Alrighty. Now we're going to work on some spinal articulation also from this position. So feet in a nice hip width position, hands can make fists into the floor. And then focus on just your tailbone starting to peel away from the floor and pause there. All right. Notice that muscles on the front side of your body could help do that tilt. You might feel your abs starting to shorten. Also muscles on the back side of your hip, your glutes and your hamstrings. So try to feel both as we continue peeling up your spine. And we're just going to peel up to your rib cage. Where your rib cage starts, that's where we're going to stop. All right. And then to make your way back down, start at that rib cage spot and start pinning vertebrae by vertebrae back into the mat until your tailbone is firmly planted on the floor. And we're going to actually keep going in that direction. Think about pushing your tailbone more into the floor. Keep your rib cage on the floor if you can, but see if you can't open up a little gap right above your tailbone. So you're starting to arch your spine the other direction, away from the floor. All right? And then flatten that low back again on the mat. Start peeling your tailbone up. And segment by segment, peel your spine off the floor like a piece of very sticky tape. Good. When you get to the rib cage, pause, invest in keeping the ribs nice and heavy, and start placing segment by segment back onto the floor. When you feel your whole spine connected to the floor again, start thinking heavier with your tailbone, reach your belly button away from the ground, and try to find just that little tunnel underneath your lower back, the lowest segment of your spine. Nice. Okay, before this last one, let's brace just a little tighter. Two fists get a little more squeezed, your feet really get heavy into the floor, and see if you can use that contraction to get out just a little bit more curl in your tailbone and a little bit more flexion at each segment of your lower back that we're working on. Nice. Good. Pause when you feel like you get to your rib cage. Keep your ribs heavy and start placing with the same intention, with the same body contraction, with the same control focus. With the tailbone on the floor, see if you can access those specific muscles right along the back of your pelvis to reach your belly button away from the floor without your ribs going away from the floor. That's a tough ask. All right, and then relax. Nice. Okay, so now we're going to get into a position to work on internal rotation of your hip. Let's do this right leg first. I'm going to ask Hannah to walk the right foot straight out to the side. And then you can drop your right knee towards the floor. Now this is definitely a case where everyone's setup is going to be a little different. So you can see here that as Hannah's knee gets lower, her hip comes off the ground. And for now, I want you to let that happen. I just want you to explore the sensations of stretch that you can find if you drop that knee even further towards the ground and then maybe drop the pelvis towards the floor and just sort of seesaw back and forth there until you hone in on the most clear twisting stretch that you can find in that right hip. Just take your time, breathe easy, micro adjust your foot position. Tune into what your knee is telling you. Sometimes the inside of the knee can be the main feeling that you are having here. Good. Okay, now as Hannah zooms in, I'm just going to grab a prop. If Hannah's main issue here was inside of the knee bothering her, then we could just sneak a pillow right under there and provide a little support, and that can go a long way to feeling a little more comfortable. All right, now settling into this position, hopefully you're feeling a clear stretch and you're just relaxing to that stretch now. And go ahead and try and see if you can hook your other ankle onto your thigh and provide just a little bit more solid base. Okay? If that doesn't feel good, no worries, you don't need it. It just is another option. Okay? So now, from this position, we're going to start our Pales Rails, our isometric training. And this intent here is just to get much stronger at this exact end range position. So do your best to not move, brace your torso, and then utilize that brace to start rotating or thinking about rotating your right thigh so that your heel gets progressively heavier into the floor. Just going to indicate that rotation that you're after. You're trying to drive your ankle through the floor. Once you register that contraction, start ramping that contraction up to 30% effort, 40% effort, 50, 60, 70% effort. Go ahead, hold it right at 70% effort. Feel your whole body alive with the effort that it takes to pin your foot into the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax back into a stretch. Nice. Okay. Now, instead of making your ankle feel heavy, start thinking about making your ankle feel light on the floor. That should happen as the result of thinking about rotating your thigh now the other direction. So trying to roll your thigh into more internal rotation. As you lock onto that sensation of contraction, use your whole body to ramp up a nice strong effort and try to rotate that right thigh as much as you can without moving. If you find a cramp sensation here, congratulations. Try to work through it, hold on to it. 10 more seconds. Trying to pull yourself into more internal rotation. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Good. Go ahead and unhook your foot if you had your foot on, and just give your right knee a little wave out to the side and then back into that stretch. Just bringing some new blood and fluid into the area. All right. And then we're going to work on the same thing on the other side. So you can bring that foot back in, walk the left foot out, drop the knee towards the floor, and start your teeter-totter, your seesawing back and forth with your pelvis and your knee, trying to reach your knee towards the floor the whole time, but finding what angle of your pelvis allows you the most clarity in your stretch on this left hip. All right. Now as Hannah settles into the stretch, as you're finding the stretch at home, I'll share with you that many of my best setups for Kinstretch have happened on my living room floor, just trying to search out in exactly this way. Where do I feel the lines of tension? How can I prop my body or support my body so that I can aim and work on those specific lines of tension? So that's all just to say, we invite you wholeheartedly to do that same exploration on your own. And if you find something great, share it with us. We might include it in a class. All right, so Hannah has set up the pillow underneath her knee. She's just relaxing into a stretch now. And if it feels good, you can hook your other ankle onto your thigh and kind of brace yourself up there. All right, and then brace your abdomen nice and strong so you have a stable base as you start your Pale's contraction, starting to pin your left ankle into the floor and thinking that that's the result of trying to rotate your left thigh. As you get a feel for it, let's ramp it up to 30%, 40, 50, 60, 70, and hold it right at 70% effort. Imagine if you were holding a 70-pound weight right out in front of you. How much of your body would be working to do that? 5, 4, 3, 2, melt your effort away back into a stretch. Make sure you feel the stretch. It needs to be very clear for your sensation. And then let's start trying to rotate the thigh the other way for our rails contraction, thinking about making your ankle light and trying to rotate your thigh into more internal rotation. Essentially, try to rotate your thigh into more stretch if you can. As you lock onto that contraction, ramp it all the way up to your greatest safe effort. Hunt out what muscles might cramp in this position, and let's hold on to that high effort. Using both fists, your torso, holding on 3, 2, 1, and relax. Back into that stretch. Unhook with your other leg, and just gently wave your left knee back and forth. Yeah, feeling how things might be a little bit different. Bringing the leg back into the land of the living and the moving. Good. Okay, now if you're using that pillow, go ahead, just kick it out of the way. All right, and we're gonna find a transfer basically from 90-90, but from this back lying position. So we're gonna connect some different ideas. So start by walking both feet out a little wider than your hips to start, and make sure that you can do a nice strong bridge here. So you can go ahead and lift your hips all up as one smooth motion. Really feel your glutes squeeze. And I'm going to have you start going to your right side first. So start leading your right knee towards the floor. After it stretches away from the left knee as much as you can, you're going to actually let your body turn and pin that knee down. Now pause when your knee gets to the floor and feel that you're actively pinning that knee down. That's your stable base. And then reach your left knee to the floor without collapsing. You might get the left knee to the floor or you might not. Doesn't matter. From here, pause. Keep the right knee heavy, lift the left knee as wide away from that right knee as you can, and then start to bring that right knee with you. Great stuff. Now as you come through this bridge, make sure you're still squeezing your glutes. You can think curling your tailbone. We don't want to just train the lower back here. Keep going to the left side, leading with the outside of your left knee. Searching for the floor. When you find it, pin it down actively. And keep it pinned as you reach your right inner knee towards the floor. Actively reach for a complete stop. Find that stop, find that stretch, and then reverse course. Come back up. Let the left knee drag behind the motion of the right knee. And we're going to pause in this bridge and segment your spine from the top down back onto the floor. Very nice. Great stuff. So this is an opportunity just to open up any tightness that you might have found in your lower back. Just let it stretch. Take a few recovery breaths here. We're going to do that same transfer again, but this time we're going to do it for time. So you might be stopping at certain positions. You might get a few more reps than Hannah does. Doesn't matter. We're going to work on this for 1 minute. All right, so go ahead, peel your spine back up into a bridge and begin your transfers, starting with that right knee reaching towards the floor. Pin it down actively once you find the floor. Keep it pinned. Start reaching your left knee towards the floor. When you can't actively reach it any further, you will find a complete stop. So make sure you really notice that stop. Then pry the left knee out wide. Actively stretch your knees apart. Start bringing that right knee along for the ride. Good. And start going off to the other side. Going nice and smooth here. Each of these different angles that you're working through are positions of rotation for both hips. We want to get strong at every position that your hip can rotate into, and that's why we're using a really nice slow pace and a high amount of body contraction. Great stuff. Back up, and that was a minute. Very nice. Pause right here, start crunching your way back down. And set it back down. Okay. All right, now because we just did some work on the hips, let's just set and seal it in with some more capsule cars. So you're going to start where we started by reaching your right leg up to the ceiling. Back is flat. This time, create a little bit more brace. So really feel your abs are on tension, your hands are strong, and start rotating your thigh back and forth. And notice that you might be able to get a little bit more rotation wrung out. Maybe not. But either way, you should feel more connected to the muscles that create that rotation. So as you get to your end range, really feel the strength inherent in getting to that end range each time. Great. Give me 10 more seconds of nice, strong rotation. And relax. Good. Same thing on the other side. Take a breath to brace. And then left leg reaches up, kneecap pulls up tight for a straight leg, and start your 30 seconds of rotation here. This is another opportunity to cramp, actually. As you internally rotate, you might find a cramp in your inner thigh or in your hip flexors. As you externally rotate, you might find a cramp in your deep hip, glute area, back of your hip. Good. Hannah's doing a really nice job of showing that complete stop. You might even see a little bit of shake and bake as she's working very hard for the last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax down. Okay, nice work. We're going to finish up for a little bit of specific focus now for external rotation. So come onto your side this time. You can prop your elbow underneath. And you might find as we work through this that you do better laying fully on a side lying position. You can throw a pillow or whatever you might need underneath your head there, okay? But I'm going to have Hannah demonstrate this from side frame. Take a moment to really solidify this down arm. Use that to feel a strong brace through the bottom side of your rib cage, the side facing the floor. And then start rotating your bottom thigh to lift your ankle as high off the ground as you can without lifting the knee. Just keep working on up and down there, really trying to feel this as an axial rotation. So you're rotating your thigh, and the result is that your ankle is moving. Okay. Nice. Okay, on the next rep, you're going to hold your top position. So go ahead and lift that ankle, hold it. Think rotation clearly for a second and see if you can't get that ankle any higher than the knee. 5, 4, 3, try to really remember this sensation and set it down. Okay, now we're going to build on one final piece from that rotated position. We're going to involve the knee now. So find that rotation, nice braced body, This is where we start and finish. From here, without letting the thigh move, start straightening the knee. See how straight you can get the leg without the ankle hitting the floor, and then bring it back. Try to touch your other thigh with your heel if you can, and then back out. Good. 20 more seconds. Keep thinking rotation of your thigh. Your inner thigh might be real near cramping, especially as you bend your knee. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt it down. Nice work. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the other side. Find your brace. Excuse this a little bit. Yep. Good. Again, pin your bottom hand down to the floor. Brace your rib cage away from the floor, and then just start with feeling rotation on this side. Okay. Now let's just imagine that Hannah had much less on this side. Go ahead and let's see side lying. All right. Just so that if you're following along at home, you can see, yeah, because we've changed the angle of the pelvis, now the rotation at the thigh is a little bit more obvious here. If you have very little rotation available, then you might need side lying position just to get a few inches off the floor. That's totally fine. You always want to be working just right near your end range. Okay. And on your next rep, you're going to hold that ankle up high off the floor and just use this hold to register clearly the sensation of contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set it down. All right. Gather your brace. I like to think like I'm gathering all the power from the floor. Okay. And then rotate the thigh. Keep that rotation and start straightening the leg. As you go, don't let that thigh run away from you. So you're just bending the knee, keeping that rotation, but you're not letting the angle of your thigh move at all. Hannah's doing a great demo here. It's a little bit easier said than done. Good. 15 seconds. As you move with control, notice where else in your body you could create extra brace. It can only help you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and melt it down. Great work. Have a nice day.